Hello and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. Today we're talking about one of the most difficult things for all neurodiverse folks, rumination. This is going to be a little bit of a long video because this is kind of a big topic. So rumination, that is the experience of getting stuck in your negative thoughts. And they're usually, when we talk about rumination, we're usually talking about negative thoughts from the past. But actually, let's extend, for this video, let's extend that idea to just getting stuck in thought loops. Good, bad, positive, future, present, past, whatever. Just getting stuck is the key point with our thoughts and going around and around and around again. So it's common for me, especially late at night, to have a thought or an idea and to get stuck there. My brain gets really excited. It can be a good thought or a bad thought. The problem is that the bad thoughts can have a major impact on our physical, mental, and emotional health. So first thing, recognize that you are not alone. Absolutely not. This is the most common complaint or challenge that I hear from people who are autistic. Whether it's in Facebook groups or in the groups that I lead, this is the one that comes back again and again and again, and is a really difficult, dark, challenging place for all of us. So do not feel like you are alone with this. You are absolutely not. This is very, very common. Before we talk about what to do, let's try to put a couple of the causes into a different context. So I really used to hold grudges. And do you? Is that just me? We're talking 15 years long grudges that I'm holding here. I felt that by holding my grudge, I was punishing that person, and that if I forgave them, they would escape the punishment that they deserved. So Oprah Winfrey tells this story about going shopping one day, and across the street, she sees this lady that she's really mad at. She's really holding a grudge about this lady. She was wronged by this lady, and she's really mad at her, and she's like never gonna forgive her kind of madness at her. And she looks across the street, and this lady is going into Tiffany's, and she's got this massive smile on her face, and she's very, very happy. And Oprah realized that lady is not thinking about my grudge. She's not thinking about, oh, I did Oprah wrong. I hurt Oprah. I should apologize to Oprah. She's not having a bad time. That lady was having a lovely time. So what Oprah realized is that the only person who was suffering from her holding the grudge was Oprah. The other lady didn't even know a grudge was being held. She didn't care, I guess. And certainly it wasn't damaging her day. So that's the first thing, this idea that we are holding on to something, and by holding on to it, we are punishing another person. That's not actually what's happening. It feels like it should be happening. It feels like in some way we are controlling the situation by holding on to this bad memory of something that happened. But in reality, it's only affecting us. We're the only person who's holding on to this thing. For me, my worst one, as I said, 15 years, it was at least 15 years. It was probably closer to 20, maybe even more than that. And they moved on. They were living their life. It wasn't bothering them in the slightest. And I was still going over and over and over in it. Like every week I went over this in my head. Hours and hours of weeks, years spent going over the situation again and again, and what would I do, and how would I this, and how would I that, and a million different versions of it. And I think probably they rarely, if ever, thought about it since it happened. So I was the only one. So as you can see from Oprah's story, holding a grudge doesn't punish anyone but you. The second context came from an Instagram video that I saw, and I'm going to post the link to it in the comments. And I really encourage you to go and watch it. It's not very long. It's about 2 minutes tops. And the reason I want you to watch it is because she explains it really, really well. I'm going to do a very brief explainer, but she goes into it in more detail with more examples. It's easier, I guess, to grasp. So I definitely suggest you get it from the horse's mouth as it is. So her reframe is that all feelings are incoming. So when you're angry, and it doesn't have to be anger, right? In this situation, we're talking feelings. So any emotion at all. When you're feeling an emotion at someone, you sort of feel like you're throwing your anger at that person, right? And you might like yell at them or whatever, lash out in some way. Even if you're just sitting, being angry at them, like staring daggers kind of thing, it feels like you're throwing it out. But just like Oprah's grudge, she was the only one feeling that. The same is true here. Even if you yell at them, when you walk away, they forget about you most of the time and your anger. And you're still here fuming with nowhere to go. All these emotions are messing up your nervous system, not theirs. They're fine. You're suffering. They're not. So we need to learn to let go of things. We're not letting them out of responsibility. It's not about forgiving them or saying that they are not going to get punished or that they don't have any responsibility. All of the things that happened still happened. Nothing's changed. And you can still make your decisions and actions based on the things that happened. You have every right. They must take responsibility, and you have every right to want that from them. But the difference is the energy, the emotion and the energy that you're holding. Instead of holding on to it, we have to free ourselves so that we free ourselves from the negative impact of those emotions. So this is not about letting them off the hook, but rather letting you move through your life more easily without holding on to the stress for everybody of everything that ever happened. And if you're anything like me, some of the things that happened that you're holding on to could be from school. I'm 43. We don't need to hold on to that anymore. So we're going to try very, very hard not to get attached to our feelings or those situations, not to hold grudges, and to avoid spiraling thoughts. Super. Nervous system balance. Problem solved. Yay. Not. Could it be that this is easier said than done? I think so. So part of the problem is the way that our brains work. Many of us are problem solvers. And even if we're not actually very good at solving problems, or this is an unsolvable problem, our brain is still going to give it a damn good try. That's the problem. And here's the extra kicker. With rumination, the problem is in the past. It literally cannot be solved. Often, even if you find a solution, it's too late to implement it. And now your brain is going to play around with what happened, what could have happened. What if something like this happened? Here's the solution. Maybe if I had done this, could I have had this solution? It's going to go round and round and round and round and round. But you can't implement any of the solutions you come up with. You cannot ever solve that problem. The time has passed. It is done. If you cause the problem, you can apologize. And if you're thinking about it years later, you can go back and apologize for that thing. And I tell you what, you'll find out, they don't give a shit. Really, most of the time, they don't give a shit. They've forgotten about it. They've moved on. And you're still thinking about it. You can definitely go back and apologize. If you feel that you want to do that, you can do that. And that maybe will give you some closure and relief. I've had that experience where I went back and I found the person and I said the thing or I asked the question. And it did give me a massive closure for that situation. So that could be one way to close the loop for you with things. Or it could go horribly wrong and you just open a new loop of things. So very often, if it happened in the past, and most especially if it wasn't your fault, but sometimes even if it was your fault, you gotta let it go because it's not a solvable problem. There's nothing you can do about it. So let's get on to the letting it go part, because that's the tough bit. So first of all, another suggestion, I would suggest you follow a lady called Emily Lees. She's an autistic brain trainer, and she has lots of good ideas. You can find her on Instagram. I will also put the link to her profile in the description. She's very, very smart, and she, obviously being autistic, she knows what we're dealing with up here. And she has a podcast and a few different things. And it's really all about helping you improve your mental health with scientifically proven tricks and systems and things like that. So I would definitely suggest you follow Emily Lees so you can learn more of that stuff. And what I'm going to tell you about is what I did in my situation, but she actually has all sorts of models and systems for exactly what we're talking about. So I would suggest you go check her out if this is really a problem for you, because my way of doing it was really hard. And you may find that some of her solutions suit you better or are much easier to manage and implement in your life. We're all different, right? So it depends what works for you. I was always ruminating. My whole life, that's been a problem, really, forever. And it was mostly on historical things that had happened. The problematic moment came, like really destructive moment came when I lost my job. I was fired from my job. Of course, I didn't have a job, so I didn't have anything to like take up my time. And I was just living in like constant rumination. What should I have done? What did I do wrong? How angry I was about everything, how unfair everything was. And I went over and over the situation in that room again and again and again. And because I didn't have a job, I had 24 hours a day to go round and round and round. Very dark place, very bad for the brain and like every kind of health. After a while, I got to the point where I really was at my wit's end. And one day I just said, okay, that's enough now. Move on. And it worked for like 5 minutes. So I did it again and again and again. And then I did it and I purposefully distracted myself with something else. Go away and look at plants. Play with a pet. Go for a walk. Scroll on something. Paint. Knit. Organize. Whatever you like. Distract. This is a form of brain training. And unfortunately, it takes practice. And it works during the day. It's really good during the day, but there are no distractions at nighttime. So at nighttime, I would focus on my breathing, and I still do this now. Trying to go really far down deep into your chest. Counting, so there were things like breathe in for 5, hold for 3, breathe out for 4, those kind of things. Thinking about as if there's like a pinball in your back, and so trying to draw the breath down bit by bit by bit down your back and then push it back out from the bottom back out again. So this process of going stage by stage, slowly filling up your lungs and then pushing it out stage by stage. It's really important to have your deep breaths, and that will help you get to sleep. I find the deep breathing is really helpful. It calms my body down and helps my brain go to sleep, but it doesn't work all the time. And yay, perimenopause. But, these are different ways that you can entertain your brain while you're lying in bed to distract it from these thoughts. And the key point, just like with meditation, the point is not that you have an empty mind or that you constantly remember to do this and you never get distracted. You will get distracted. It's going to happen. No way around it. The point is, as soon as you notice you're distracted, and that might be in half an hour, then you come back to the thing. I certainly am very impulsive. So as soon as my brain goes off on a new track, I'm like, woohoo, like a dog after a bull. I'm like, well, let's go, follow it. Where's it going? And it could take half an hour for me to go, why am I looking after this bull? I'm supposed to be breathing. And at that point, come back and start breathing again. And what you'll notice is over time, this process gets faster and faster. You notice yourself faster, you catch yourself faster, and you come back. This is actually, and meditation generally, is actually really good for those of us who are impulsive, because it actually helps train our brain to be less impulsive. This situation, especially lying in bed, you're not supposed to do anything else. You just have to go to sleep. Just like with meditation, you're not actually supposed to be acting on any of the impulses you have. You just have to keep coming back to the breathing, keep coming back to the breathing. It's repetitive. It's very, very boring. Your brain's going to get bored. But it's a practice. And the point is, the more you practice it, the better your brain gets at doing it. And that's what we're working on. For the rumination, the key point is to get your brain better at not following the ball, that ball being your negative thought of whatever it is. We want to get your brain better at going, oh, look, there's the ball, back to breathing. Oh, there goes that ball again, back to breathing. And that's what you're doing. And during the daytime, you're going, oh, there's that ball. I am not following that ball. Take that ball somewhere else. Come back to breathing. And that's what you're doing again and again. I'm not going to follow that ball. That's enough of that ball. I don't want to see it anymore. I'm going to sit down and do some drawing, writing, painting, whatever it is you love to do. Come back to the breathing. You will get better at it. Eventually, it will work at almost any time for almost anything. But the key thing here is practice. It is the hardest thing. And for me, this felt like life or death. So that's why I kept at it. I was in a really dark place. So that's why I kept doing this, because I found something that sort of worked and I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it because it felt like I had no choice. It took 6 months before one day I realized, wow, I haven't thought about that in a while. And the good thing is it has kept working over time. It's not something that I consciously practice anymore, but it's quite automatic in the sense that if I find myself in the shower thinking about something like that, I will say to my, no, we're not thinking about that today. And then it goes away. And I have to say, it's like amazing. So Emily Lee's that I mentioned earlier has lots of different ways to train your brain, as I mentioned. So yeah, some of them might be easier than mine, whatever works for you. Generally, I really suck at sticking to things, but honestly, this feels like the best present I've ever given myself. It really does. It was really, really, really hard. I cannot stress how hard it was to get to this point. It is the hardest thing I've ever done, without a doubt. And sometimes I still ruminate. Sometimes I still get stuck on thoughts, especially if I'm tired. But most of the time these days, I got stuck on ideas, positive things that my brain likes to play with, rather than those negative loops. So it's a much better situation. It's a more positive situation. I hope that with these 2 reframes and the resources that you can find something to start working on with your rumination. Start today. It's so different to not have to deal with all the time. It just frees up your brain for so much more positivity if you're not constantly going back again and again and again on all the bad stuff that ever happened to you. You don't have to live in that world. It's not necessary. And I know it feels like that's never going to change. I know it does, because that was me. I was 38 when I started doing that. My whole life, I was stuck in those loops. So I know what it feels like. But to not have to deal with it anymore is a delight. You don't actually have to be stuck with that way of your brain working, but you do need time to rewire your brain, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're rewiring your brain to have a different reaction and to bounce it off those old paths. And those old paths are very, very strong because we have been around them so many times. So that's literally what you're doing. You've got this rut that you've been going around in your head. And what you're trying to do is give yourself a new road to go on. But at first, that road, oh, this analogy is going to get really good. That road is a thicket. It is full of leaves and brambles and twigs, and you have to take your machete and push your way through that road. This could distract you just thinking about this. But the road is there. It's just overgrown. Seriously, seriously overgrown. And the more you head down it, just like your rut, you're going to go down that road again and again and again. And each time you're going to take the nettles down and you're going to keep going. And slowly that road is going to get flatter. It's going to get wider. It's going to get well trodden, and it's going to become a rut. And it's going to be much easier for you when you come to the fork in the road. See how good this was? Wow. This is an impromptu analogy and I love it. When you come to that fork in the road and you see that dark rut that's heading into very dark wood. Oh, this is so good. Instead, you're going to pick the light one that you've spent months and months and months hacking away with your machete. And it's going to lead to a very pretty beach. This is a really hard thing to do. Be nice to yourself and try to be patient. It takes a really fucking long time. And I know, and that sucks. And that's horrible. But keep coming back to it. Keep trying it again and again. Even if you don't do it for weeks, that track is still there. It still exists. Come back to it again, come back to it again, come back to it again. And eventually it will start to look more like a road. So remember to vocalize out loud. That really helps. I know you sound stupid. I know you don't want to do it. But saying it in your head is not nearly as effective as saying it out loud. Get yourself some good words, whatever works for you. For me, enough is quite helpful, but whatever works for you. Tell your brain to stop or move on, and then find a distraction. Anything works. Any kind of distraction is good. Imagine you're teaching a child, so use your repetition and kindness. That's key. And let me know how you get on in the comments. I hope this was helpful. I know it's a really, really tricky subject, but I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys find that path that leads to the ocean. Just sit and enjoy the view. We're not going into the ocean. That's another topic for another day. All right. Okay. I'll see you next time. Bye.